Okay. So to kind of bring it back to the topic of self-harm, and sharing my story and whatnot, the healing process has, I mean, there are a lot of people involved in my recovery, and I'm starting to get emotional, but it's been a very long road. Again, I don't remember the first time that I did cut, but the depression has been around for as long as I can remember. The suicidal thoughts started when I was, probably like 12 years old or something like that. And then I would say the cutting didn't really begin until I was around like anywhere between 14 and 16 years old. And I do remember there was one time where the cut was really bad, and this was during high school, and I didn't have any wound care equipment at home, and so my psychology teacher, Dr. Newsell, he gave me some of the school supplies and he bandaged it for me. And the other big thing that happened with him, that really only 2 people from high school know this, but when I was a senior in high school, this was the time that I was also seeing my therapist, Desiree, but the suicidal thoughts were getting a lot worse for me, and I just felt like everything was caving in. Like, I was dealing with, my home life, I was dealing with school and trying to get good grades and, all this pressure and whatnot, and it just got so overwhelming that I really seriously contemplated about killing myself. And I think it was about a day or 2 later, well, I talked myself out of it, but about a day or 2 later, I told my therapist, and she said that was too close of a call, and she called the hospital, and she went with me to the psych ward, and she admitted me, and I was there for 8 days, and I just remember Dr. Newsell being really understanding, and like, he just really took care of me, and that's something that I'm very grateful for and that I will never ever 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 forget. And it was weird because I was only there for 8 days, and when I got out and when I got back to school, this was actually after the week that I was there, or the 8 days that I was there, was right after some kind of 2-week vacation from school. So I was technically gone for 3 weeks out of school. And when I got back, all my friends were like, "Where the fuck have you been?" And I was like, "Oh, my mom and I just went on a road trip." The second person that has really just really done a lot for me in terms of being an art mentor and being a guiding light, and just being there for me in ways that she probably wasn't supposed to be. But my second psychiatrist, when I got out of the hospital, they had put me, well, while I was in the hospital, they had put me on medication, because I was begging for the longest time to be put on medication, because I knew that my suicidal thoughts were going to get worse. And my parents didn't want me to be on medication. My first psychiatrist didn't agree that I should be on medication because she didn't think that what I was claiming was going on was bad enough for me to be on medication. And that just really pissed me off, but that's another story. But my second psychiatrist, Dr. Blumenthal, was the one keeping up with the medication when I got out of the hospital. And she took care of me the first time I got kicked out. She bought me breakfast, which I'm really just quite sure she wasn't supposed to do, as, per doctor-patient guidelines or whatever, or boundaries or whatever. But she said, fuck that. She was quite a character. Always brutally honest, but with me being really sensitive, like she was still her. She still did things her way, but she was just gentle with it with me. And she is, in my mind, like the forefront reason as to why I got out of this really bad place in terms of my self-harm. She made a bet with me in the spring of 2000, no, I feel like it was like the winter or spring of 2015. And she made a bet with me because I was talking to her about me getting a cover-up tattoo for my arm. And she was like, I'll make a bet with you. If you can go without cutting for 3 years, then you can get your tattoo. And I was like, I'm feeling badass, I'm feeling adventurous. I'm like, okay, you want me to go 3 years? I'm gonna show you. And that was in 2015. And at first it was for her and to kind of show her that I can win this bet. But in the summer of that same year, she passed away. And it was such a shock to me because I didn't know that she was sick. And I just remember thinking, like, goddamn, like, if I am struggling so hard with this, like, how am I going to struggle with, somebody else passing away? Like, and she was just really loving and really, really extended herself. She is who I think of every time something negative happens or some roadblock comes to me. She is who I think of when I want to cut. And I just want to express that I know so deeply. I know how difficult it is when life just says fuck you and you want to go back to that place. I know what that's like. I really do. Because I've been clean for almost 3 years. But we fuck up sometimes. I've fucked up sometimes, but it's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. And I just want you to know that because you've made a mistake, whether it be with self-harm or with any other thing in your life, don't beat yourself down because of that. Don't. Know that I love you and that it's okay. And I'm telling you this because no one told me. And if I'm the only one that tells you I love you today, and I really mean it, I really do, I love you. It's okay if I'm the only one that tells you today, or this week, or this month. Just know that I love you, and that it's going to be okay. So the last person on my list is my therapist, who I've been seeing for the past 8 years. Um, we have our ups and downs. I've yelled at her. I've slammed the door of her office. I've, just... I get really angry sometimes, but I guess that... I mean, I haven't replaced cutting with something else. I mean, I will give some examples of how to deter yourself later, but I never replaced it. That's just me. But yeah, the last person that's really ensured, that I don't cut, and she is the most consistent person in my life, and I see her quite a bit every week. But that's okay. Therapy is not taboo. It shouldn't be taboo to any minority culture. And like, if it's just one time, if you call a hotline of some sort, or if you only make one appointment, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to be like me and go for 8 fucking years, and I mean, it's gonna be hard, but it's worth it, I think. And I know, I'm thinking, like, what would old Danielle say to counteract that? And I have, like, so many different responses in terms of what you may be thinking, in terms of, like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. No, I know what I'm talking about. And my therapist has just really been a real consistent person. She's been consistent in terms of time, in terms of, being there for me. She's been consistent in terms of letting me express myself, whether it be, good or bad. There's been a lot of bad because I've been very stubborn and very resistant to her, just because I have a raging trust issue when it comes to anyone, not just her. But yeah, those are the people that have really helped turn my life around. And it's weird because, like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, these people helped me, but I have to ask myself, have I helped myself? And I would say, yeah. I think out of the 8 years of therapy that I've been going, and I'm only 24, so I started when I was like 16, 17. But with going to therapy and getting on medication, and, really understanding the reason why I was cutting myself for all those years, and really knowing most of the ins and out of it. And again, that just being, I was really angry about what I was going through and not being able to express it, so I would just take it out on myself. But, and I think I want to emphasize on this. Yes, I've been almost clean for almost 3 years, but in that almost 3 years, there's been a slip up. And you just have to really be, I think the biggest thing that I need to tell myself, and that I want you guys to understand, is that you have to be really patient with yourself, whether it be with you deciding or continuing your therapy, or whether it be, personally, just giving yourself time. I think that is the biggest thing that we miss sometimes. It's just being understanding to ourselves and not beating ourselves down all the time. I think that's really important to any kind of healing, whether it be physical or mental. I think that's
So
patience
the last thing that I want to say about, you know, healing, is I would suggest that, again, you find patience in your life, in your soul, in your spirit. But also I would say try not to be so unreceptive to people that either love you or who are trying to help or who express care in some kind of form. I know I am, oh my goodness, I am so cynical of people and situations, and like I'm just really stubborn and resilient, and I know what that's like. I really, 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 really do. But sometimes you just have to just let all that go and trust in this moment that you're gonna make it. You really are, because I love you. And whatever you're going through right now, this wave, this demon, whatever it may be, it's gonna pass. And again, that I really want to teach myself and teach you guys patience. So, and I think the reason why or how I've gotten to this place is that I realized that the cutting side of me was just little Danielle just wanting to, you know, when I feel numb or I feel in autopilot, it's, in my case, it was almost sensual but refreshing to feel something and to see the blood and, you know, whatnot. And I just didn't want to be that. I didn't want to listen to little Danielle anymore. I know that she's not going to just poof and go away, but I didn't want to feed her anymore. And it really, in my case, felt like child Danielle was just acting up every time I cut. And I came to a place where I was just like, that's not who I want to be. And that's a change that I had to make for myself. Yes, other people helped me and really, you know, when I made the bet with Dr. Blumenthal, it was really to prove her wrong, but it kind of came to prove me, you know, it became something about her and I, not just for her anymore. So, yeah. I hope that my story has helped anyone, even if it's just one person, and you don't comment or you don't reach out or whatever the case may be. But I hope this has helped someone in the world today. And I just want to again say that I love you, and this is going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And again, this has been Danielle Faulkner for Bouquet. Please leave a comment, a like, or follow me on Instagram. And I hope this topic has helped someone today. And I'm going to leave some hotline numbers and whatnot. So, yeah. And also subscribe. I forgot that. Alright, you guys. I'll see you guys next week.